when nerds learn to fly. Well guys, it's been almost 3 months since our self-termination date at Walt Disney World as show finishers in the artist prep department. It's been nearly 6 months since we worked a full week there because we were burning our vacation time. We've been through a very interesting journey as we pursue our semi-retirement and self-employment. And there's a lot of things that people tell you, but your head just doesn't quite wrap around. As someone who has been saving money from a very early age, probably from my allowance at 5-7 years old to cake decorating at 13, on through 20 plus years at Disney, other jobs along the way, I've always been a saver. And the idea of a saver is that you spend less money than you make. Well, when you leave a corporation and you leave that salary, you watch your bank account and there's not as much coming in as going out. It is paralyzing. And even though you know that you've been preparing for this for years, it is a semi-retirement. So you have these savings, this capital saved up, you have dividends, you have rents coming in from rental properties. There's something about that mindset of there not being more coming in than going out that is paralyzing. And it's a completely different mindset, and it's very, very hard to adjust to. You start thinking about the littlest expenses, gas money to get to the movies, even though you have free movie tickets, the amount of electricity that you're using, the amount of water that you're using. Suddenly, everything is seen in dollars and cents. So we're working through that right now and trying to adjust to that. The other thing is the endless opportunities. That also can be paralyzing because suddenly you find yourself, you can do anything now. There's been a couple of contests that I've entered that would allow us to travel. Haven't won anything yet, but just keep hoping because that would be a dream for someone else to pay us to travel. There's a lot of companies right now are looking at social media as a way of marketing. One, it's a lot cheaper than marketing, and two, that's how you reach everyone today. In a world where people have DVRs and they skip the commercials, social media is a great platform for your companies to use for marketing. So I've entered a couple of those contests that would allow us to travel for 3 months, 6 months, and to be paid for it at the same time. Then we have our artwork, which we now have the time to go to galleries and pimp out our artwork, possibly do some art fairs, festivals. We have the opportunity to pursue things like odd jobs for theaters and do set work for theaters, which is really exciting also. So you have all of these opportunities and you feel like you're set on a new path, and you ask yourself, okay, which direction do I go in? I don't want to miss out on any opportunities. But if I choose the wrong one and lock myself in, what if I miss out on another opportunity? So having choice also can be paralyzing. And especially when you've been with a corporation for over 20 years and they tell you what you're doing, when you're doing it, how you're doing it. Some of the other things that you don't expect is you think, okay, I'm semi-retired. I'm going to have so much time to do so many things that I want to do. And I guess that you do, but it fills up very quickly. You find yourself being just as busy, semi-retired, as you did when you were working full-time. And we've been picking up odd jobs here and there and supplementing our income a little bit with it, but you're constantly busy still. And I don't know how that's possible because you've got an extra probably 50 hours a week if you count travel time. So that's another thing that is surprising about leaving the corporation, is even though you've heard people say it, just experiencing it for yourself kind of puts a new perspective on it. Another thing that is very hard about semi-retirement or not reporting to a job every single day, you lose track of time. We ended up having to put up a calendar so we could keep track of what day it was, and moving a little magnet along it to make sure that we were, and sometimes the magnet doesn't get moved, so that we could keep track of what day it was. Also trying to get yourself into some sort of schedule. One of the things that we talked about when we were planning on semi-retirement was that we needed to get on a schedule, because otherwise you could lose yourself in the freedom of not reporting to a job. So we did real well the first few months. We've slacked off again. It's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to get off course because there's always one thing or another that needs to be done, and you start in one direction and get pulled off in another. So we're still working on that. We're getting better at it. The other thing that was really, really difficult in the beginning was getting the business set up. Everything had to happen in a certain sequence. First, you had to choose a name, because you had to have that name to open up the LLC. Second, you had to get the LLC opened up before you could open up a bank account, and that was before you could start any kind of business for your LLC. You can get lost down the rabbit hole as you're researching things like tax law, business law, licensing, the differences of the different business types, like the LLC with a C Corp wrapped in. So you can fall down that rabbit hole and never get started because you get lost in the research. And then choosing the name was so tough. You wouldn't think it'd be that tough, but you wanted something that allowed you flexibility, because we were thinking of flipping houses, but we also wanted to be able to possibly do some consulting, artwork. We wanted to be able to wrap a lot of things into the LLC. So you didn't want the name to be too specific. You wanted it to be something that was catchy, that people could remember, and you wanted it to be something that someone else didn't have. It probably took us a couple of months to even decide on the name. So we finally decided on a name. We got the LLC set up, we got the bank account set up, and started to set the business up, work on the tax plans. And of course we had a million other things that had to be set up by leaving a corporation. We had to get our health care set up, because that used to be covered by our jobs. We had to finally get cell phones. Yes, we were the last two people on earth not to have cell phones. It worked well with our lives. We both worked graveyard together, so we didn't want people calling during the day to wake us up, and at night everybody else was sleeping. So we had a landline and a voice mail that people could leave stuff on, but we preferred to be contacted through email. So we finally got cell phones, and that was a process of setting all of that up. It just, a lot of changes, a lot of stuff that didn't immediately become profitable. It was building that foundation. And I feel lucky that we're in a position where we can take the time to build that foundation, and build the foundation while we're not having to report to a job that takes a lot of our time. There is a whole lot to leaving a corporation becoming self-employed, starting a business, and figuring out a completely different path in life than what you had been doing for the last 30 years or more. And I think we're doing well. We have ups and downs. There are times where we completely freak out and are going, oh my God, what have we done? What have we done? And then there are other times that we hear from people at work and it's like, oh, thank God we got out of there. I wouldn't want to have to be going through that right now. There's times of guilt where we feel bad about the people that we left there that are having to go through that. But overall, I guess right now where we are doing pretty well. If you have any questions about what it's like to finally leave the corporate world, please go ahead and comment below. If you've got any insight into the terrifying experience of leaving the corporate world out on your own, go ahead and put comments down there too. If you have been watching these Sunday vlogs, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I intend to keep posting on Sundays. I really appreciate you guys stopping by and listening. That's how nerds learn to fly, I suppose. I'm still looking for that inspiration. And I will see you next Sunday. Bye, guys.
Always an adventure.
Yeah, that's us.